Well, everyone, we're gonna give we're gonna wait for just 2 more minutes to give everybody a chance to join. Okay, so let's get it going then. A quick introduction. My name is Mislav from HR Cloud, and I'd like to thank you all for joining today's session. We're here to focus on a group that's absolutely essential to day-to-day operations, and yet they're the most difficult people to reach. And those will be deskless frontline employees. Whether they're working on retail floors. Oh, sorry, some problem with the audio. Is it better now? Okay, great. Uh, where was I? Yeah, so deskless and frontline employees, right? So whether they're working on retail floors, warehouses, or in the field, uh, these teams are the ones that keep the business going every single day. Despite being critical, frontline employees are often the last to receive very important updates and the least connected to what's happening across the organization. That disconnect is not intentional, right? So people aren't going out of their way to not inform those people. But the issue is simply that traditional communication tools were not designed for how deskless employees actually work. And as a result, gaps emerge and they can impact performance, morale, and even long-term retention. My goal today is to unpack why this challenge exists, where most organizations struggle when it comes to frontline communication, and how engagement becomes far more effective when it's built around the realities of deskless work. Apologies. Uh, we'll also take a look at what meaningful engagement really looks like and how companies are successfully closing this gap. So to set the expectations, let me quickly walk you through the agenda. So this is what we'll cover today. First, we'll talk about why engaging deskless employees is fundamentally different uh, from engaging office-based teams. Just a moment, some technical difficulties are coming up. Let me reshare my screen. Something wasn't working. There we go. Yep, sorry guys about that. A bit of issues with my Zoom. Is the PPT visible now? I've just been told that you couldn't see the PPT. Can somebody in the chat just please confirm? Okay, All right. So where were we? Yeah. So this is the agenda for today's discussion. So first, we'll talk about why engaging deskless employees is fundamentally different than engaging office-based teams. And we'll take a closer look at the unique challenges frontline employees face in their day-to-day work. Next, we'll explore the most common communication challenges organization with frontline teams run into, and why many traditional workplace tools fall short in such environments. Uh, then we'll shift focus a bit and talk about what deskless employees actually need in order to stay informed, connected, and engaged without adding friction or slowing down the team. After that, I'll briefly reference a real-world example from one of our clients, Fortenova Group, to show how effective frontline communication works at the scale and what impact it can have across a large distributed workforce. Then we'll jump into a quick live demo so you can see how this looks in practice and how the workers interact with the platform in real time. And finally, we'll wrap things up with next steps and plenty of time for a Q&A. So overall, this session is designed to be practical, realistic, directly applicable to real frontline environments. And with that in mind, let's start by grounding ourselves in the reality of frontline work. So most deskless employees really want the same things as office employees, right? They want to know what's going on at the company, they want to feel included, and they want their work to be recognized. All of this sounds very simple, but the reality is often very different. Deskless employees face some very unique challenges. For example, there's limited access. Many of these workers don't sit at a desk, so they don't have a regular access to an email or to company intranets while their shifts last. Some aren't tech savvy or simply don't use email, which also make traditional communication challenges very ineffective. Second, there's missed updates, right? Uh, Frontline workers often miss meetings, huddles, briefings, and important information usually reaches them too late, or in some cases, it doesn't reach them at all. Third, manual handoffs. Information often has to be passed down manually. Updates travel either by word of mouth or printouts, which can create inconsistencies and misunderstandings. And fourth, there's fragmented awareness. Different locations or teams often receive different messages, which leads to misalignment, confusion, and frustration. So when communication depends on managers repeating updates or employees catching messages by chance, things easily or even inevitably get lost. Messages change along the way. Some people hear everything, others hear nothing, and over time, this can lead to disengagement, frustration, and even mistakes on the job, depending on the importance of the update they missed, right? Uh, Now, what's important to understand here is that these challenges don't exist because companies don't care. They exist because most workplace tools were simply not designed for deskless employees. Traditional internets, emails, office-focused platforms, they just don't fit that environment. And that's why we need a different approach. We need tools and strategies that are built with the deskless workforce in mind, solutions that can actually reach people where they are, make communication consistent, keep everyone engaged without adding extra work or creating confusion. So let's talk about some of the assumptions traditional communication tools make and why those assumptions often don't work for deskless employees. Most communication tools were designed for desk-based employees. Take email, for example. It assumes that employees have an inbox access and that they actually have the time to read a lengthy message. And that just isn't the case in a frontline environment. Then there's internet. It also assumes time, it assumes training, It assumes comfort navigating complex systems. Employees have to log in, they have to find the right section, figure out where different information is stored, and that's a barrier for many employees, especially if they don't have a high tech literacy. Printed notices, well, those go out of date quickly. There's no way to confirm whether people actually read them. That also can be a big issue. And messaging apps can create more noise than clarity. Without any structure, messages get lost, ignored, misunderstood. If you have a WhatsApp group, it's easy to be muted and some people don't even look at it, right? So uh, all of this can add up to fragmented communication. So important updates don't reach anyone, feedback rarely flows back to leadership, and there's no single place where frontline employees feel connected to the company. Operational systems run smoothly, right? But the employee experience breaks down. Employees may have the tools, right? Everybody has an intranet in place, but if it's not designed to fit a certain environment, Daniels, they're going to have lack of communication, lack of engagement, which makes people, and engagement is what makes people feel informed, included, valued. Uh, so now that we've established why these traditional tools aren't the answer, the obvious next question is, what do deskless employees actually need to stay informed and engaged? So let's talk about that in just for a second. So this doesn't have to be complicated, right? It doesn't have to involve complicated programs or heavy processes. What those people actually need is just communication that fits into their day, something that works with the way they actually work. So that means that it needs to be mobile first, right? So it works whenever everybody has a device in their pocket, which they can access at any time and check out an update. It has to be simple so that no training is required. So you're not increasing their workload, or if they're tech savvy, you're not creating any headaches for them, right? If they can get around intuitively. It has to be visible so that everyone sees the same updates and there's a single source of truth for news, updates, announcements. It has to be interactive so people can respond and participate, not just receive content and absorb it. And it also has to be consistent so nothing important gets missed. When communication works this way, engagement stops feeling like an extra task and it becomes part of the everyday work. Now that we've defined what the requirements are to have a successful communication with deskless workforce, let's look at what it means to have a solution that's really built for that environment. So Workmates is built specifically to support deskless and frontline teams. Employees receive updates directly on their phone, no inbox required, no intranet, no guesswork, right? Company news lives in one simple feed, so everyone sees the same updates in real time. Recognition and shoutouts are visible across locations, helping employees feel valued no matter where they work. Employees can engage as well and interact with the content. They can like, they can comment, they can acknowledge posts, making communication interactive rather than it being just one way and you're just absorbing a bunch of information. And leaders get clear visibility into engagement across the whole organization so they know that what's working and where attention is needed. So as you can see, the goal here isn't more communication, it's clearer, more human communication that actually reaches the front line. Now, all of this sounds very great on paper, right? But it's even more powerful when you see how it works in the real world. So let me share one quick example to bring this to life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our clients called Fortenova. Fortenova is one of Southeast Europe's largest private employers with tens of thousands of Deskless employees spread across multiple companies, countries, and different industries. So before Workmates, communication relied heavily on managers passing information down manually, along with printed materials and some legacy tools. Their main problem was that updates were slow, frontline employees felt disconnected, messaging was inconsistent across location, and that created confusion, right? When you put it all together, it's very hard to know what's going on when in a situation like that. And all of this left employees wondering what was happening in the broader organization, right? And in some cases created lots of anxiety. Uh, this is where Workmates came in, and with Workmates, Fortenova created a single mobile communication hub that reaches employees regardless of location or of their role. Leadership messages became visible to everyone at the same time, and employees could finally interact, respond, and feel part of the wider organization. So I won't go deep in every detail of this use case here, but this is a strong example of what's possible when communication is built for the frontline reality. This kind of transformation won't just, sorry, this kind of transformation won't just change communication. It will change the everyday experience for employees and managers. Employees will feel included, informed, recognized, and managers will spend less time chasing updates and more time supporting their teams. And that's exactly the kind of impact we aim for in any organization with right tools and approaches. So here, we'll just take a quick look at the everyday impact of implementing Workmates for Fortenova. So before Workmates, people heard updates secondhand or not at all. Afterwards, everybody's informed with timely direct updates. Before, managers spent time repeating the same information, but now that they have Workmates in place, they can focus on operations, not repeating announcements, messages, making sure people are up to date, right? Recognition stayed local. Now with Workmates, recognition reaches the entire frontline in real time, increases level of satisfaction across the board. Before, frontline teams felt disconnected from leadership and company direction, and now they have a stronger sense of inclusion and connection to company culture thanks to Workmates. Now, of course, on their own, these are not massive changes, right? But over time, they can make a real big difference. They improve the culture, they build trust, they increase retention. And those day-to-day improvements ultimately lead to something that leadership cares about as well. Those would be measurable business outcomes, as we all know. Engagement isn't just nice to have, it's a driver of results, and that's what makes a solution like Workmates so valuable. So let's quickly talk about some of those outcomes. One of them is low turnover. A highly engaged team experience significantly lower turnover, especially in frontline and hourly workforces. Other things that can be measured are quality defects, right? 45% fewer quality defects within engaged teams. And also productivity increases in some studies by even up to 17%, right? So to summarize, when frontline teams feel disconnected, turnover increases, mistakes happen more often, and trust erodes. The strongest organizations treat frontline employees as part of the conversation, not just recipients of instructions. And now that we've talked a bit about the why and the impact, let's shift gears again and let me show you what this looks like in practice. So we're going to take a quick live demo of Workmates in action from 2 points of view. I'm going to show you the software from a frontline employee perspective and also from a leadership perspective. So I will log in from an employee's point of view. And I will also turn on this Chrome extension, which will display a mobile view, right? So we can get a sense of how do people in the front line who are going to use phones, right? We've said it a million times already, they don't have access to a desk or a laptop where they're working. So let's see how it looks on their phones. So when I log in as an employee, I hop on my feed, and here I can immediately read the latest updates. So for example, I see that management posted an announcement. There are new safety guidelines. I can open up the announcement, right? Go through everything. And once I've read it, I confirm that I acknowledged that I did so, confirm. And then, of course, under any post, as we talked about, I can engage, I can I can copy and write a comment if I need to. Then let's see here, we have an event announced. Join us for the annual company picnic. Okay, let's pull up the event details, right? So we can check out when is the event, what's the location. I can leave a like, leave a comment, right? And I can also say that I'm going. And then here we have a few shout outs, right? So I can congratulate on my colleagues' birthday notifications, messaging in general, right? So as you can see, for the employee, things are very straightforward. I just hop on my phone, on my feed, and I have all of the content right there. There's more that I can do from here. I can, for example, go into my chat, send a message to somebody, or even fill in a feedback survey, right? So let's say my company wants me to tell them a bit about how satisfied I am. I can go here, fill in my survey, submit. So let's hop on the feed again, right? So I don't have just my main feed here. I can also go into channels. Channels are basically like you can think of them as groups, right? So I can go here, access my channel list, go into one of the channels where I'm a member, or I can go and discover other channels, right? So when configuring Workmates, obviously, ideally, each location or each department or company will have their own channels so you can segment the communication, right? You don't want everything just happening on the main feed. Now, this is the employee's experience. So let's now go back to the management experience where I'll talk a bit more about the various options and how you can keep track of things as a manager. So hopping back from the manager view, the manager is probably going to be on a laptop maybe or on a PC, not necessarily on a phone. So as a manager, how can I make sure that I'm keeping track of everything? So we've seen company announcements, right? Newsletters, important updates. That's how you share those. As a manager, you would hop in here in the announcement tab, open up the announcement, and you can check out the analytics. You have general engagement metrics, but also you can see who are all the recipients of the announcement and who confirmed, who didn't confirm the announcement. And from here, you can send them reminders as well to make sure they do so. You'll have complete overview of the feed and of the channels so you can keep track of what's going on, how are people interacting. Of course, as you would expect from a tool like this, uh, when during the setup of the tool, right, we have a very detailed systems of permissions, so you can configure who gets to post on the feed, who gets to post on the channels, who are going to be the moderators, should posts go through an approval process, and all of that. Right now, I just want to focus on uh, leadership visibility, as we've talked about, right? Creating content, also very straightforward. If you need to post something, you can just do it right from here. And we do have AI writer help, right? So if you need assistance or if you're a very busy person, you can just create content with AI. Right, you can just ask it, for example, help me create an announcement for such and such, or and then AI will come in. Uh, Collecting feedback from people, as we've saw, there is a survey builder which employees can you can ask for, feedback from them, and managers have all the analytics at their fingertips. So I can hop in to my survey builder, pull up the survey analytics, and review everything from here in one place. And this is also exportable if necessary. And of course, if I go to the channels, I'll have access to everything. I can hop in from channel to channel as an administrator, see what's going on, and get analytics metrics as well. I can get analytics for an individual channel. I can get analytic information about usage across the whole company, and I can also get it for individual posts. This is, for example, recognition, right? We talked about how that's important and how people aren't very visible. Here is an example of a shout out to Alicia and to Avery for being very good at building a community, right, at the workplace. And again, when people get something like this, their confidence increases, they feel valued, and of course, colleagues can jump in, like, react, and help build and strengthen the culture. And as a manager, right, or as an administrator, you have overview to everything that's going on, as you can see here. So let's pause on the demo and let's take a couple of more minutes just to go through some questions before we jump off. Okay, so I'm going to just take some time to answer a couple of questions. Please type them in the chat and then I'll read them and answer them as best as I can, of course. Okay, let's see. So first question. Frontline teams are often resistant to new tools. What does adoption typically look like, especially for employees who aren't very tech savvy? Now, that's a great question, and a question that we get asked all the time, basically, when we're talking to customers. So adoption is very easy for the workforce because of a few factors. The first and most important one, this is mobile centric, right? Uh, and it's very intuitive. Basically, even if you're not very tech savvy, if you've ever used any social media platforms, you'll intuitively know how to navigate Workmates, and that those two factors help a lot. Third, uh, people don't need emails, right? Uh, if somebody doesn't have an email to set up their account, you can just use their phone number instead of the email, and they'll be able to access Workmates no problem from their phone. So those three factors make it very easy to adopt, even if your workforce is not very tech literate, so to speak. Next question. How do managers and leaders know whether frontline employees are actually seeing and engaging with important updates? Okay, so this is a brief question, right? So if you recall, I know I've covered a lot during the meeting, but if you recall on the demo, we saw how managers and uh, leaders can go and see the analytics of each announcement and get a detailed list of all the recipients and see who confirmed, who didn't confirm, and also send them reminders, right? So for leaders, is that it's as easy as going to the announcement and clicking analytics, and then they see. Okay, hope that answers your question. Let's see if we have any more. How quickly can a company realistically roll this out to frontline teams and start seeing results? Okay, so a typical implementation takes about 2 to 4 weeks, and you can go live within that time frame, start using it to start getting the benefits. Okay, how do you prevent important announcements from getting lost when there's a lot of communication going out? That's another great question. So important announcements will be pinned and will be the first post people see when they log in. Also, our tool is very customizable. So we allow our people who are creating content, they can choose which type of notification they want to send out, if any. So you don't have to send out a notification for each post you make. You can reserve those for very important announcements that should be read as soon as possible. Notifications can be on emails, on the mobile app, and for announcements, you can also notify people with a text message so you can make sure everybody's informed about those very important uh, posts they need to see. Okay, next question. Let's see. What are some examples of quick wins companies can implement to improve deskless engagement immediately? So the biggest example there is the recognition system, right? I didn't talk about this in this call, but within Workmates, with recognition, you can also tie rewards to it. So the biggest impact, that's always had the biggest impact with our clients. When people are getting recognized with kudos, they will be put on a leaderboard. A leaderboard tracks most shoutouts received monthly and all time. And lots of our clients leverage that monthly leaderboard to keep people engaged and to, generate excitement. For example, we have clients who will give rewards to the top 3, top 4 people who are on the leaderboard each month, let's say. So that's one of the quickest ways in which people get increased level of engagement when they adopt Workmates. Another cool thing that there is you have an option of creating an event where people can nominate their colleague. For example, if you do a January MVP event, people can nominate who's the best employee according to them in January, and then that person gets a recognition post once the event is done. And that's also something that helps a lot. I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see. So I don't think we have any more questions, and also we are running out of time. So thank you everybody for joining. And to close this session, I'd like to leave you with one key takeaway. And that is that engaging deskless employees doesn't require more effort, it just requires the right structure. If you'd like to contact us to see how Workmates would work for your frontline workforce, you can find us at hrcloud.com or email us at sales@hrcloud.com. Thank you again, everybody, for being here today. I hope you leave with some actionable ideas and a clear sense of how communication and engagement can transform the frontline experience. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, everyone.